Assalamualaikum, very good morning. This is Khairul from IceChat Innovation, Change and Economics. Welcome to this is a great Thursday. We have a special guest. See you in 4 minutes. Bye.
Just as a compass orients travelers, the OECD Learning Compass indicates how students can navigate through an uncertain and rapidly changing ecosystem to help shape the future we want. It is an evolving learning framework that helps create a common language and understanding about broad education goals. Co-created by policymakers, researchers, school leaders, teachers, and students from around the world, the OECD Learning Compass defines the competencies, made up of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values, that students need to fulfill their potential and to contribute to the well-being of their communities and the planet. When a student holds the Learning Compass, he or she is exercising agency, the capacity to set a goal, reflect, and act responsibly to effect change, to act rather than be acted upon. But the student is not alone in this. He or she is surrounded by peers, parents, teachers, and the community, all of whom interact with and guide the student towards well-being. The Learning Compass shows that students need some core foundations before they can set off towards well-being. These include not only literacy and numeracy, but also data and digital literacy, physical and mental health, and social and emotional foundations. To shape their future and the future of society, learners need to develop certain transformative competencies. These are defined as the ability to create new value, reconcile tensions and dilemmas, and take responsibility for their own actions. These competencies are developed through a cyclical learning process, anticipating, acting, reflecting. As learners become more adaptive and reflective and take actions accordingly, they continually improve their way of thinking. While there may be many visions of the future we want, the well-being of society is a shared destination. The OECD Learning Compass orients learners of all ages towards that better future.
Alright, welcome back. This is me, Khairul, currently with all the great educators in Malaysia. So on top right, I have Prof. Datuk Asma Ismail. Here we have the Prof. Datuk Asma, please.
Hello.
Right, alright. Then I have Prof. Karim, Prof. Karim Ismail, and Dr. Wan Zuhainis, and Mr. Kiman. Yeah. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for having everybody here. Right, so I just wanted to read up a little bit on their profile. Prof. Asma Ismail, a respectable woman of many firsts. 21st. She's now the first female chairperson of Malaysia Qualification Agency with MHE, and also the current president of Academy of Sciences of Malaysia, right? Thank you so much for Dr. Asma to be with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me to share.
Likewise. All right. So, Prof. Abdul Karim, a man on a mission in digital learning. Wow, that's nice. Huh? Who's who in the arena? This is for Dr. Abdul Karim, alias currently the director of Center for Development of Academic Excellence in USM. Thank you so much, Prof. Karim.
Thank you for having me.
Right. And then Professor Madya Dr. Wan Zuhainis Saad, a passionate microbiologist and active advocate of creative and innovation learning, now the Director of Academic Excellence Division in MOE. Thank you so much, Dr. Wan Zuhainis.
Thank you for having me.
Right. And last but not least, a man that needs no introduction, Mr. Chua Kiman, yeah, in the house. A passionate educator and innovator, youngest recipient of UNIMAS Academic Award at the age of 30. Wow, that's outstanding. Viral post recently during Teachers' Day. This is more like it. Now the Deputy Director of Center of Applied Learning and Multimedia at UNIMAS. Thank you so much, everybody, to be in the house. Right, thank you. Right, so we are now in the ICE chat. The main topic that we talk about today is digital learning rampage, how higher education can stay relevant, right? So just to start the ball rolling, I wish to ask maybe Prof. Karim, how is it like now in the university since MCO happening for the university and also the students around? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Hairul, and thank you for having me and all distinguished speakers this morning. Well, I think now after more than 2 months in the MCO, I think the dust has settled down a little bit. More or less, we have come down. But at the initial point, where during the MCO at the beginning, basically we feel like we have been kind of smacked by something very hard, and the reality basically at that point was it's kind of like surreal situation where we have to face. But I think in a way, as we know, there's a blessing in disguise in all these things, and USM, I think, well, ready to let us know also from the previous VC, who is also here. We have been more or less into this online learning as part of our blended learning initiative. So in terms of getting shifting from the face-to-face to online fully, for the first time, yes, fully, because we were doing a blended learning, only partly online and the rest are still face-to-face. So when we have to shift suddenly to full online, that's quite kind of a shock also at the beginning. But the first 2 weeks was quite havoc. But that's where our team, the CDAE, Center for Academic Excellence, we go there especially to hold, to guide our staff. Those who are not very familiar in doing online, so we guide them through various online training webinar series of webinars. So students really is the big issue there. So we have to get some information about them, where they are, where they are, and what kind of connections they have, low bandwidth, high bandwidth, and so on. So with all that putting together, to get our staff up and running doing the online, and also to get students to be ready. About 2 months, I think we are there, and I think things are much better now.
Better now, yeah, that's great. Well, thanks so much, Prof. Karim on this. I just want to ask probably Prof. Datuk Asma, right? Prof is a former VC. Digital learning is not new in Malaysia, right? It's been around for some time. So how has that digital learning come back, with the MCO, the pandemic? How do you think, as a university, big picture, get affected by this situation?
Basically, first of all, thank you for inviting me and hello
Happy.
to all. Um, whether you like it or not, the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, has created a disruptive change in education. That is there, and it forces us to address the gap, right? And address the gap fast, because students have to go home. Suddenly, overnight, in-person teaching is converted to online learning. And if I think some of the universities are prepared, some universities may not be so well prepared, and this will cause a problem of the students, because it affects the way they learn and how they perceive online learning. Because if you have unplanned, untrained lecturers doing this, not planned very well, and then
Right.
bandwidth not there, it will. And then of course the technology platform. What platform are you using? Are you using Zoom? Are you using Lark? Are you using Google Meet? What platform are you using? All this make a difference to the learning style of the, and therefore whether this is going to be sustainable will be decided later
Yeah.
on after. And if you ask me the question whether total learning has occurred, we still have to do skills based. Experiential learning completes the learning. Is you And that is why I think the blueprint of higher education, despite all the discussions, shift 9, realize online learning, we advocated, we advocated at that time to go to blended learning. Blended learning, because in medicine, in engineering, in some of these courses that you need skills, you need social skills, you need technical skills, you need clinical skills. All this so far cannot be by online learning. So the way forward, it will have to be blended learning, and I think the book goes up to 70% online, not more than 70% online, and then the rest is by experiential. So you need
Wow.
both. And I think now the change, while during COVID, is for the universities to change or rearrange the timetable such that all those that can be done by online learning is done now, so that perhaps when PO is lifted, then the practicals, the skill, the community engagement, the social engagement,
Yeah.
building of saksiyah, that to me is very complete a student, and
Yeah.
that probably after the MCO has lifted.
Right.
So and I think the future is going to be blended learning. I don't
Mm.
think that learning will be off the chart. It's here to stay, and I think trying to train the people, the technology platform for this is happening, and people. I think the students enjoy online learning, because
Yeah.
most important, whether you are able to teach critical thinking, flexibility, adaptability, problem solving. If you can do this in a much interesting way by using the digital platform, I think that will be the kind of learning that we want to have. Plus, you add gaming into it, that
Yeah.
young generation likes that. So that
Yeah.
will probably be a mistake.
Yeah. Thanks, Prof. Datuk. Talking about Malaysia blueprint, I would like to invite Dr. Zuhainis. Are we going to have a new blueprint with this COVID coming in, or are we going to stick with one, or will there be any adjustment? Please, Dr. Zuhainis, Dr. Wan.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Cairo. First of all, I think it's very important that, as Datuk Asma was saying just now, on the globalized online learning. I think if we actually internalize the blueprint with all the 10 chiefs provided, we could actually emphasize on how we can use digital learning, online learning, or even remote learning. Earlier, we have also introduced the PTG, or blended learning substitution, where instead of having online as a supplement for the face-to-face, but now online is actually to replace the face-to-face. So that approach that was introduced earlier and now being implemented in the universities due to this COVID-19. In terms of blueprint, definitely we would want now to expand uh, on the digital education, right? Whether or not to have a new blueprint or uh, using the existing blueprint, but more uh, expanding and broader the scope and focusing on the digital education.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. And talking about students, I would like to invite Mr. Kiman on the role. All right. So how does I like what Kiman said the other day to me, that you know what, Cairo, it's not only the lecturer getting affected, the students too. And being Unimas that you have more than what 30-40% students coming from rural areas. So how does this pan out during this pandemic, Kiman, for students?
I think in the case of first of all, thank you for inviting me, and it's an honor to be with all the big giants here, Datuk Asma, Prof. Karim, and also Dr. Wan. In the case of Unimans, and also I think Sabah included, and in UMS, we were a bit lucky, I would say, because the PKP or the MCO was announced at the time where students are already back for midterm break. They were back home for the midterm break. But then we thought it would be since they are back home, and we would be able to do this online learning easier and all that. But we found out it's not, because once they were back home, we realized that the difficulty is even greater, and they start to be panicking. They were worrying about whether they need to get decent internet connection and all that. In my case, I have several students texting me, do we need to do Zoom all the time? Do we need to do WebEx all the time? Because if they are required to get better internet connection, they are actually willing to even get money and upgrade their internet plan and all that. But I think at this moment, students are trying to figure out what is the best for both ends. I think they are trying to accommodate lectures as well. When lecturers are saying that, okay, we need you to do Zoom, they are trying to accommodate, but at the same time, I think we should also look at their difficulties, right? The problems that they are facing as well. So it's not easy to reach out to every single student, because the issue of inclusivity has been there for quite some time, right? We have been talking about equity and all this for quite some time. It's not just recent pandemic kind of thing, but I see COVID-19 as a blessing in disguise as well, because now we start to realize the gap is so huge, and all this while we thought everything is okay and all that, and then now we realize that we forgot about all these certain groups of students that we need to cater for, and suddenly everyone is caring about them, looking forward to help them and all that, which is a good thing. I think now we realize that although it's a problem at first, but now slowly they're getting the support they needed, which they may not have obtained before this, right?
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Iman. I have more questions for you, but for now, I wanted to ask for Datuk Asma once again. And it is an open secret that MQA University, they have a tension but healthy relationship, right? So, being a chairperson in MQA, how do you see this as an opportunity that can be done together to make sure that the program continue be accredited and relevant for the students in long term, post-COVID?
Yeah. Post-COVID, I think MQA started already to unlock for flexible education. You see MQA, their direct relationship dengan JPT. So Wan Zuhainis has to play the role here to also make sure that together we move to unlock the policy on flexible education. Once that happens, it becomes now like a call for MQA to also now look into flexible education like micro-credentials, which we have done. How now do you get free programs and whatnot accredited via micro-credential? How now do we move masters, PhD via micro-credential? How now do we take in MOOCs and all other forms of digital online to now be part and parcel of moving towards a degree or master's or PhD. So all this is now done. I think as far as the MQA is concerned, micro-credentials, which is what we had wanted to happen, because I think as with this post-COVID, many economy is down, many have to close down, and therefore at the end of it, once the MCO is lifted, I think many people will try to get a job. And when they try to get a job, they will not be in the university. So bottom line is that they will now need to go by micro-credential or digital online or MOOCs or whatever to now get their degree. And that is here to stay already as far as I'm concerned. So therefore, it's essential that MQA also come up with APEL, accredited prior experiential learning, now be able to move. So there are many ways now. And don't forget, it's not about only the degree programs, it's also about skills. A lot of companies out there that need skills. So at the recent National Science Council, we approved for the formation of technology assemblies, meaning to say this is a consortium or by the companies. They set up the skill centers, they teach, and then we as MQA will now accredit the structured skills that are by the industry.
Right.
Let's see and now come in to get the proper degree out there. So MQA is now moving on a flexible mode because I think MQA will move as fast as JPT moves. So therefore, I think it's a partnership now to make sure that everybody is in sync. And I think more ideas need to come. Like for example, what is stopping us from having an M-Run PhD? I have challenged this many times before. Why do you need a PhD from USM? Why do you need a PhD from UKM? Why not the research universities have a PhD, M-Run, Malaysian Research PhD program, where the students rotate. UKA now will be ready to say, okay, this degree is coming from 5 and not just from 1. Because this is the formation. Tomorrow is going to be the Netflix consortium of education. That's the way I see it. To move forward now, it's got to be that kind of a mode. And if that is the case, then we are talking about partnerships of 20 IPTAs, partnership between IPTA and IPS. This is now going to be the in thing, because if you don't move in an agile response to what COVID pandemic is doing, then I think we will be left behind. So, you've seen a lot of the universities overnight change all their courses, 2,500 courses. Imperial did that. 5,000 courses by universities in China overnight. They are able to do that in 2 weeks. Can Malaysian university do that? Put all those courses online in a matter of 2 weeks? I mean, the science of coronavirus done by Imperial is so well subscribed that it's now part and parcel of Coursera. So there you are. We have to move in that direction. So I think MQA will be ready to together with JPT and move this. That's why I said unlock the policy, tell the universities this is the way forward. The university will be creative enough to do that.
Right, thank you, Dr. Asma. Right, I would like to invite Dr. Wan or JPT side by side in this partnership of the same question. How do we unlock the policy and racing or accelerated this kind of the speed that we need to handle this situation?
Thank you, Dr. Asma. I think it's very, very true that JPT and MQA have to work hand in hand in order for this to move forward. We have actually been working together in terms of flexible education. We had that Flex Ed seminar in 2019, and we all the transdisciplinary programs and also joy degree programs and credit transfer MOOC, for example, has been introduced in 2016. Now we want the universities to actually make use this opportunity. If you can see, actually, as I mentioned to Kiman earlier, we see that this COVID-19 is like a blessing in disguise for e-learning or for online learning, and it looks like it is actually a catalyst in how we actually redesign our learning. But it is also very important that the university will take that ownership to give the opportunity for the students to learn flexibly, to give that flexibility to learn from other universities. right now there are only a few universities, very very few universities that allow that credit transfer, MOOC, for example. So when this MQA actually came up with the guideline and on the micro credentials, and the universities will have to allow the students to take courses from anywhere, especially from the our local universities who are offering the same courses. But if the universities do not allow that, then the students will not be able to do that. So I would say, the universities have to unlock first also, because
Right.
we are pushing for this flexible education, for micro
Right.
credential, for credit transfer MOOC. Although it is named actually credit transfer MOOC, now we are looking at MOOC, but we want to chunk it. We want to have like modular MOOCs. That's where micro learning can come in.
Right. So okay, thanks so much, Dr. Wan. So Prof. Karim, so yeah, the university level, how do you see this as an opportunity or challenge to bring this forward for the students?
There's a great opportunity now with COVID-19 really push forward, push the hard the agenda of online learning, and now become the enculturation, so-called the enculturation of online learning, which at the university level we've been trying for so long, and it takes. It takes place very slowly. That is the process of enculturation. But with the COVID-19, everything now has been speed up, accelerated. So now I would assume, in terms of the mindset and also the skill set, these are the two essential ingredients if we want to drive online learning agenda at the university level and also at the national level. The change in mindset of the academic, as well as the change of mindset on the students' part as well. And also the skill set. Both the lecturers or the academic need to acquire, master a new skill set to conduct learning, as well as the students need to acquire a new kind of learning skill, so they have to adopt and adapt to the new situation. So with both the academic and the students are now already enculturated on the online culture. I call it the new culture of learning. The new culture of learning.
Yeah.
It will open up a lot of opportunities. For example, the university now can create more online program through micro credential, through MOOC, out global learners. The micro credential program can target a certain specific group for those non-formal and formal learning, and bridging the gap. So there's a keyword that I want to say here in terms of the opportunity now with micro credential, bridging the from the non-formal and informal learning to the formal qualification, and this provide opportunities to 70% of those who are not able to make it through the queue into the formal qualification, formal learning environment at university level.
Right.
The bottom line is there are plenty of opportunities coming to us for online learning.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Karim. From Mr. Kiman, you mentioned, Prof. Karim mentioned a good thing about mindset and skill set, right? The new mindset and skill set. And Malaysia MOOC is one of the world first in terms of the speed at the national level, right? So how does that early start that we have, and now we have this pandemic accelerated the need of adoption? How does the mindset and skill set affected the lecturers particularly in this area?
Well, like what Prof. Karim has mentioned, and also Dr. Wan, I think we were ahead of time in a way, because we were thinking about having a standardized national level kind of MOOC. so that it allows seamless credit transfer and all that. Unlike in other places where you have to choose a different platform for different universities and all that. In Malaysia, we kind of like all the public universities are parked under one kind of standardized Malaysia mode at that time. So I think it's really is something groundbreaking at a time where we were already ahead of time and we were thinking about flexible education and all that. So things have been there for quite some time. Just that now, I think the mindset change among the academics now is more of like, why do more? That kind of mindset. When we can just go to the class and teach as usual and all that. And so I think that change requires more work, and when you have more work, then you get more resistant in many ways. So, but I think the support that JBT, even universities have given to the academics are quite impressive. If you can see during these 2 months, all the public universities are working together, conducting webinars, sharing all this kind of knowledge transfer and all that. And Prof. Karim has been trying to inspire more academics to produce more content online and all that. I think this is something that I have never seen for the past few years of even though my short period of time in academia, but I've never seen university working so hard, helping each other, UTM conducting this, USM conducting this, UNIMAS, and we're sharing something that has never happened before. I think maybe it happened, but now we see it visibly around us. So this creates that kind of support that we need, but at the same time, to some academics, it feels like wow, so many things. They are overwhelmed. Suddenly, everyone is talking about moving to online learning, online tools and all that. So we are kind of ready, but to push further, I think the support for academics and also students should be intensified. I think in a way like for supporting in terms of internet coverage, devices. Some lecturers wanted to do content, but they kept asking me, which is the best mic, how do I get a best camera and all that, these kind of things. It's some small things that I think we can do, just that it can be intensified further. And also the requirements of fulfilling certain guidelines. I think that one has to be clearly clarified at many levels, because like some would say, okay, USM do this kind of thing, and UNIMA doing this and all that. They start to be comparing different kind of benchmarking and all that. So I think if that is clear, like I mentioned to Prof. Karim, maybe next year everyone would be jumping on the online learning and they don't want to go back to face-to-face teaching. Just that face-to-face teaching is more for all this practical and hands-on kind of thing. And also I think we are also being trained in the 21st century skills kind of mindset, where we have transformed our these learning spaces into more having more communication, having more collaboration, encourage creativity and also critical thinking. So the 4 C's of 21st century actually requires that they think 21st century skills should be done in face-to-face mode. So suddenly when you have to do online, they get a bit panicked because we have all these spaces, maker space and whatnot. What are we going to do with all these spaces when everything is online, the kind of thing. So I think once we are comfortable with that, we are fine, I think.
I think Kiman, I think which is true. I mean, I see some of my friends on Facebook as well, keep updating. They are in the university saying, oh, I just bought my webcam, I don't know which mic to buy, because digital learning requires a lot of hardwares, right? I mean, the hardware, I mean, you don't want to press the wrong button and it just go chaos after that, right? So for Datuk Asma, I mean, will you foresee a flooding of digital program coming to MQA to ask for accreditation? It's not just from a public university, because like Prof. Karim said just now about informal learning leading to formal qualification, right? So would you foresee this kind of new change coming to MQA, like floodgate, opening a new floodgate for all these new programs, digital program particularly?
First of all, I like to add on to what Karim and Kiman had mentioned just now. What will be the new business model for IPTA? That is going to make a difference, where the commitment from top management is there to ensure online learning is a goal. IPTS is very clear cut. They need to make the kind of money and in order to survive. So if they don't change fast enough, they will be obliterated. So bottom line, there's a lot of IPTS like Taylor, UCSI, SEGI, Sunway, they are all ready because we are going to go online not just because of COVID. Sometimes they have to close the universities as well. So the better you be prepared for this, faster is all there. But in IPTA, it's kind of slow in that sense because top management does not see it yet. It is like PM to P, there'll be some people like the Karim and the Kimans will be doing all this, but not everybody. Don't get me wrong, but not everybody, especially the senior lecturers, may still prefer different philosophy of teaching. They still prefer the regular face-to-face, in-person teaching. So when you realize what COVID has done, international students can no longer come. And WHO is saying that traveling now, at least for 3 years, is not going to happen. So if that is the case, where is income generation coming from? So whether you like it or not, it's going to come from the online learning. And therefore, they better shift base in terms of thinking from top management. Funds need to be there to ensure that the investment for the equipment, for online learning, investment for instructional designers need to be there. All this team need to be there now. And then training must be intensive for all. And if you want to make sure this happen, Karim, make sure promotion, SKT is also part and parcel, must be there for online learning. Otherwise, it's still like acculturation, and university can no longer wait because income generation need to come now from. And therefore, the mindset change is now going to happen by the forcing of this thing. Because I said, COVID will teach you to address the gap fast. And if you learn that you're not going to get any more money from international students, you know you have to do this. And international students is a good market because now when you make this to go online, you don't even, not necessarily you have just students who are enrolled, you have now the whole world as your students, right? Yeah. Maybe now the shift in promotion should now be not publications, but rather the impact you create from your academic programs. How many international students now coming in and learning from you? So this, and how many students you have worldwide? That will now be the impetus and the catalyst that is now going to change this, right? So when this starts to steamroll, these kind of programs will come to MPA. Before it comes to MPA, it will come to JPT first. And therefore, at the end of it, there must be some standardization of quality. We are talking about not just converting your PowerPoint now to online, just start that is same old. How now do we now raise standard to have quality, and whether that kind of quality is equivalent to a degree program, is equivalent to a master's, equivalent to a PhD. So this will be a new ball game in town that we probably need into as well. So I would definitely say that as one is saying, the universities need to do this. They have to act fast, and of course we will have to facilitate that the accreditation can now be done fast as well, because response needs to be agile, and if it takes 2 years before one kursus gets to be approved, forget about it, so this can't happen anymore. So I think both the JPT and M2A must now be on standby mode to now receive a lot more of this online, and we need to do the accreditation. Now I think the ball is now back to Senate. During COVID, M2A has now released the statement to say that it's not about what is the mode of teaching. Show to us that learning has occurred. Let's shift the ball game back to Senate, because now we are saying the Senate now has to decide when this online learning is coming in, when skills come in, admissions date, assessment, how you're going to do it. Show to us. That's all we want when we accreditate. Show to us learning has happened. You just say whatever possible mode of teaching and learning, teaching that you're going to do, at the end of the game, learning has happened. So that is what we are now measuring. Show us how learning has happened. So I think as one is saying, the universities now has a lot that needs to be done.
Right. Thank you, Prof. Datuk. This is interesting. So for Dr. Wan, what do you think some of the interesting ideas that so as we can leap forward? Number one, with new ideas. Number two is use what we already have, because we are ahead of time in terms of a lot of ideas, the micro-credential, the MOOC, teaching that we have, blended learning, flexible learning. So how do we can leap forward, not just playing catch up, because post COVID is not going to be very very kind, you know. And I like what Dr. Asma is saying. The international students is also, now we're not talking about the third world countries, the developed countries anymore. Is we're talking about really about few billion of students around online about captive market. So your views, Dr. Wan.
I do again agree with Datuk Asma when he said about quality, and MQA and also JPT has also come up with the guideline, you know, and during the pengendalian activity academic activity, on how we actually show us on how you actually achieve the learning outcome, for example, you know. And teaching online is not the same as teaching face to face. And people, you know, I think not all, definitely not all, it's just that most of them now, okay, we are going to go online, we are going to do face to face, synchronous, you know, using Zoom and video conferences, and then I'm going to do the same as I teach in the classroom. So that is not online teaching. Okay, you have to actually redesign, you know, and it's actually a lot more work. And as an educator, if you think that, you know, teaching online using video conferences is actually easier than teaching face to face, then I think it's actually you need to relook on how you redesign your especially your delivery, and how you want to make sure that the learning outcome is achieved. So in another word also, in another view also, I also want to emphasize on resilience must be built into our educational system. Okay, and this pandemic has given us opportunity to reflect and to remind ourselves that the students need, and student skill is actually unpredictable, you know. Right now, we can even last 2 days, from there was an article from MIDEC saying that, you know, how about nearly 2 million people will actually lose their jobs. A survey by DOSM earlier in March, when started the PKP, started the MCO, also showed that about 46.6%. Okay, that has not include our nearly 300,000 students graduating this year alone. So
Yeah.
are we ready, you know, to accept these graduates? Are the industry ready? Because the industries themselves are trying to recover. I don't actually see the post-COVID yet, you see, because when you say post-COVID, we do not know when will be actually post-COVID. But maybe we may even see this conditional MCO prolonged, and what we need to do now is to find innovative solutions. Innovative solutions on how we can mitigate the impact of COVID-19, especially in the higher education landscape. Definitely, the first thing is to be more flexible. Before COVID, I mentioned many times that I said maybe in the near future we will see students, you know, that coming into the universities and tell you that, okay, I've done this. I took courses from Harvard, from Stanford, I took courses from UTM, from UNIMAS, for example. I've done this, give me my degree. See, they took this online, for example. How can you ensure that how can you ensure that of that learning, the courses that the students take, that is worth the degree that you're going to confer. But I think it's the universities should look into that. That near future is actually now. It's happening now.
Yeah, right. So that's interesting. In partly of my own research, Dr. Wan, for this session, I shared. I search on YouTube. What's the future education should look like, right? Or future school should look like. We talk a lot about the infrastructure, the technology, the hologram. We have a
The
bus that
virtual
can
reality.
virtual, right? So in terms of infrastructure, from JPT point of view, would there be any change in terms of infrastructure post COVID, or rather in the medium or long term in the future? Not just now we talk about the curriculum, the learning. Right now, in terms of infrastructure itself, any new ideas that you see will be implemented?
Definitely, because actually immediately after the MCO was announced, we had a meeting with the MCMC telco, and at that time they actually also promoted to the public on certain packages for this online learning. But we have also actually worked with a few telcos, but most recently actually KPT is working very closely with MCMC to actually have a to consolidate, or we will coordinate from our side on having this telco with packages mainly for the university students. And also we want to also have channels for TV, for example, at least for those people who are very remote area, as Kiman mentioned, some sort of like just like the TV pendidikan for the MOE, and we are trying to help in terms of trying to get some budget to help in the infrastructure also. But we try to see to tackle on the quick win, and then the immediate, the intermediate, and also the long term. As Datuk Asma mentioned, online learning is here to stay. Okay, and in order for this online learning to be effective and to ensure equality, definitely the infrastructures must be improved. The cost of the access also must decrease.
Yeah.
We could actually ensure the equality, and also to make sure that no students are left behind.
Right. I think that's also an important statement where we talk about equality and equity at the same time. And Malaysia, we always try to be as much as inclusive as we can, not just for the city students, also rural students. After all, they're going to take the same exams and they qualified, the same qualification. Right. I want to ask Prof. Karim. I mean, you as an advocate, edutuber, education. I see you as a role model in digital learning. Not just although your background, when I first met you, I'm surprised that in food tech. Hey, he's a food tech guy. I thought he's a digital learning guy, food tech guy. But what inspired you, and how do you see the challenge or gap that probably faced by some of your colleagues, in adopting online learning and make the content macam tadi one of the Dr. Asma ataupun Dr. Wan said, it's not just about dumping the materials online LMS kan, saja pelajar sendiri pandai-pandai. 10 years ago that one is acceptable, right? But now it's totally different ball game. So how do you see the gap, and what do you see the challenge in them, Dr. Karim?
Yeah, well, I recently I shared on YouTube 2 hours live session actually on my journey, 26 years journey in online. So I've started much earlier, 1989. So
1989.
that's why I have to be actually in my position now as the someone that is actually driving the online education agenda, and in USM also helping the ministry as well. I have to have more empathy actually. I always remind myself, you know, have empathy to these people who are just about to embark on this new journey. And I can see, I saw during the early period of MCO, there are so many people they're so intimidated. The anxiety is so high. So, but I open the channel of communication to all the staff and try to understand their issues. In fact, I've done a lot of one-to-one sessions even with some of the lecturers, because I really wanted to facilitate them to go to online and make it as painless as possible for them. And this is where I think the role of those in charge of the center, teaching and learning center, at the university, and also the unwavering support of the top management to provide all the necessary the necessary support in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the technicals, in terms of the whole ecosystem that should now work together. So if we have everything in place, and I can see there's vast improvement now, as far as USM is concerned. The Vice Chancellor now put in some funding there, and I can see post-COVID, this thing will even become better, because we know we can't afford to slow down. We have to pick up on the momentum. We have to ride on the momentum. So now we know how to do most of the training. Now we can do online. We can do on regular basis. We are not now limited with only face-to-face training. We are buying some application or software that would enable our staff to create content now. So everything now is coming, together now.
Right.
And thanks to COVID-19, we are getting there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no, I like what you said. Build momentum, can't afford to slow down. I also want to build what Dr. Wan said. Teaching online is not the same like teaching face to face, right? So for you, Prof. Karim, you're a content creator. Is it true? Is it difficult to create content? Do you spend actually more time creating digital content compared to face learning? I mean, for teaching. Tell us, share us more stuff.
It's true. It's tough for the beginners. For people like Iman, the one here, myself, we can do it on the fly. Basically, we can do it on the fly. This morning, actually, at 8 a.m. this morning, I just went live on Facebook, 10 minutes live, and that basically content for me. So that's why 2 days ago I launched 30 days challenge for content creators to create content every day, not necessarily every day, but collectively 30 days or 30 items. And for a beginner, or those who are new to online, the learning curve can be very steep. So I will always tell this because I want to paint a nice picture, everything's easy, but reality is, yes, the learning curve is steep, but you will get over that learning curve if you put your effort, your time, your commitment to learn the new skill. That's why mindset first, then the skill set. This has to come together.
Right. Thanks, Prof. Karim. I mean, I agree with you as well. It's not easy, but I'm beginning to see, like, for you, almost every day. Like this morning, I turn on my phone. Hey, he's already live. It is very early morning. Wow, this is surprise. So for Kiman, for students, I want to hear your view from students. What do you think the student view the situation right now when they see the lecturer churning out on digital content? Are this something that they want, or do they have different expectation? Share with us, Kiman.
Yesterday, I do a random poll on Twitter, So just asking them how are they coping and all that.
Right.
Majority are saying that they are still adjusting to this new norm. Then suddenly a few of them actually replied and said, "What do you mean new norm? We have been doing this for years," because they have been doing all this blended learning and all that. And one tweet caught my attention. He mentioned that before this, kalau face to face, in a face to face mode, lecturers are cancelling classes, postponing classes, and all that, and then they did nothing to replace it and all that. No, I mean I'm not saying from my view. This is what they say to me. And now that we have online learning, somehow it allows that kind of seamless learning to go on, even when the lecturers have to go on for certain official duty, or going for conferences and all that. I think now people are realizing the beauty of having online learning and blended learning and all that, because things that they have never done on a face-to-face mode, they can actually do it online now. But of course, there are also concerned about, maybe not so much in public universities, because the fee is not that not that high. But if you're talking about private universities, they are complaining because I pay so much. I don't want to get only videos and recordings or PowerPoints and all that. You have to give me that educational experience that I pay for, right? So I think we have to run away from having that mindset of remote teaching equivalent to uploading of learning content. It's actually creating that educational experience that you can't really replace. If you put me in face-to-face mode, this is what you get. If you change me into online mode, this is still the same me that you get in face-to-face mode. That is what they're looking for, actually. It's not like suddenly when you're online, you become a PDF, you become a PowerPoint, you become video. It's not that. One that experience, learners these days are really hard to please, to be honest. That's why if you have videos, they'll be comparing you with all this K-drama and whatever. Why do I have to look at your 2-minute video when I can watch the K-drama or whatever they want? So getting harder to please means you have to do more in a way. But I would like to encourage academics to see this from the point of view that right now we are doing mitigation, but slowly, as fast as we can, we try to become a master of this and try to move to mastery in a way. We are so comfortable of doing online teaching. We're so comfortable of producing content, not only to upload the files and all that, but to create the educational experience. So students, once they see you do this, they actually okay. In fact, when they see educators who are comfortable doing online teaching, they will ask for more. In fact, but if you're struggling and then you just upload certain things and then you don't follow up, there's no feedback, then they will say, what's the point of paying so much for this? In a case of some case like Cambridge, right, announcing the whole year next year will be online, and a lot of students are complaining, especially international students, because they're paying so much and things that they can get on Coursera, for example. So I think the shift should also happen not only among academics, but also students, and also all the support system, the admin staff and all that, technician and all that. They should know what's happening now, because we don't want to have technician who say what is LMS, what is Google Classroom, what is Zoom. They can't assist us in that process. Everyone has to have that kind of mindset shift, not just academics or student, but everyone in university, like what Datuk Asma has mentioned, that business model has to change, and once that business model has changed, everyone will change, because or else siapa nak bayar gaji kita kan? Who was going to pay our salary if we don't support?
On that Kiman, there's a saying that it takes a village to educate a student, right? And Prof. Asma mentioned just now about Sasya, that very important. So I want to ask you, Kiman, how does now, in situation right now, the communities is helping the students mitigating their temporary situation right now? That any example that you see around, for Unima students?
I have a few student groups now who are actually actively, trying to brainstorm ideas on how to help those remote students. In fact, they were suggesting how we can make use of Pusat Internet Desa and all that, and they even come up with volunteers group. They say like this, why don't, so on certain day you come to my house, we learn together and all that. I mean, provided MCO allows that lah. We have to think about. They are already thinking ahead of time. Actually, they are trying to help their peers who are not in the condition where they can go online. They are even asking for relative help. Some ask parents, can I stay with my uncle now because I need to go online because my house is like crammed with 5 kids in the room. How do I go online? And also we have to accept the fact that some families is like having 4 or 5 children doing online learning at the same time. They have to upgrade the internet, they have to have 1, 2 or more devices and all that. It's not really conducive at home. So I think I love when students are also proactive in a way. They find means to help their peers. It's not just about waiting for lecturers to help them. They're also helping each other. So I think this kind of culture you have never seen before, and it's happening.
Yeah.
And when I see this as a whole, I see this is COVID-19 is really really a blessing when everyone is working together to help each other, and all you have to do is raise your hand and say, "I need help. Can you help me?" That's it. You have to do, right? Academics who are not comfortable with doing content, just raise your hand. I need help. Then we'll come and try to help you. So I think that's the beauty of this, amidst all the negativity that we are looking at, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Kiman. I think I like that kind of example where the community is gang up together, and help the students. I think this is what the mentioned the sasya. We are putting in more people in the education of the students. Okay. You see, I think there are many thoughts in this mixed view. Some people will think, oh, I want to stick to face, and now here we are talking about, oh, let's stick with online learning. But I think the solution should be somewhere in between. The flexible learning, blended learning. It's just more percentage on which area and all that. So one tradition in university I want to touch is graduation. This is an open question, and I'd like to ask all the people in university here. I mean, like all of you, the graduation, does it still matter? Because it's such a social, what I call activity, right? You invite everybody to celebrate the learners. In the post-COVID or digital learning, does it still matter, this tradition of graduation, convocation? Anyone would like to give their views?
I think you have seen in the United States on CNN how the students are graduating from the US universities. They're just graduating by Zoom. Everybody's saying their own thing, but they graduate online. And they wear the graduation robe and so on just to feel the graduation. I think at some point in time, non-traditional students don't care about graduation. I mean, you have OUM, you have all these universities already there. So there are those people who are working, which I call non-traditional students, not the ones who are enrolled in university. They are already, it's not about graduation. It's about getting the degree, right? So graduation is just a ceremonial that we like. Just take a picture. So the future, I think, is going to change in that mode. But I want to come back to the question that raise your hand, help, and people will come and help. As NUA, I begin to worry. You are now only encountering, hello, I'm talking about quality. You're asking me graduation. For graduation to happen, quality needs to be met. So bottom line, if everybody is still in a learning mode, then how can the bar be now raised to what it's supposed to be? Because I call this now the COVID generation. The COVID generation is the one who graduate in June, Karim and everybody else, right? So June, July, they're finishing this final year. Are they equipped? Are they ready? Do they have the necessary to now say they are same as all the other previous graduates from USM, for example? So how do we measure that? So to me, we have started before what the world has not done, which is to do 200 books. I remember KPI, Karim, 200 books that KPT had given you guys. We give funding to make sure you guys come up with that. That's one way we can measure quality, that the one at the national level are quality MOOCs. Why not we do the same for all these other courses from IPTA, IPTS, have a consortium, so that now it is a Malaysian university consortium, then that is where we measure quality. So now we go to jukebox, that if you now come from UMS or from UNIMAS or from USM, then you can take the masala, the jukebox, you can take this scholar is equivalent to this degree, scholar is equivalent to this degree. So that in a way measures some sort of quality, because remember, tomorrow is no longer about enrollment. Tomorrow is about subscription to knowledge. So now how do we now make sure that this is not happening? So because Stanford and all that, they changed it to Coursera, so that now you have this happening, right? So what are Malaysian universities doing? I think COVID has taught you it has to be an integrated ecosystem. If you say USM alone, USM doesn't have enough online courses to make sure I subscribe to USM. UKM, UM don't have enough, but together in partnership we will have. So maybe now we have the national level quality maintenance to be there, and still, the regular online that the lecturers are teaching can now be done. But for real degree program, we need standardization, quality, before we can say you graduate from Malaysia University, this is the kind of student that you're going to get. So I hope we can have this consortium, and because on a good platform that is well trained, that bandwidth is there, that is planned, you're going to see effective learning happening, because studies have already shown post-COVID, they can see up to 60% effective learning happening, because all the lectures are recorded. The student can go in back, they study at their own pace, own time, they can re-listen. If you miss a class on face-to-face in-person teaching, or you slept during the time the professor came in, you're finished, right? But right now with online learning, you go back and learn and learn. One, if I was still at JPT, I would say, Shift 9 calls for a national e-learning center. Forget about e-learning. I think we need to now go for Institute for Advanced Learning, so that now we can come up with the new technologies that is now needed for advanced learning, virtual reality, whatever, that can now, we don't even talk about simulation to answer for SASIA. We have not talked about avatar. We have not talked about all these things. So they are now, like the Georgia Institute of Technology, with post-COVID, they now come up with the Institute for Advanced Learning, because now it's no longer about teaching, it's now about learning. And how do we measure using brain science that learning has now occurred? So this is now the next level that we need to do, so that when students pay for this, they know what they get, and that with online learning, the price of the yuran should not be that high now. So this is a whole new business model, people, that I think together we need.
Right. Thanks, Prof. Datuk Asma. That's very interesting. Where the new thinking, I like what you said just now. It's not about enrollment, it's about subscription, right? It's about how students subscribe to that, and they can have this full jukebox of learning that they can do. And I like the mantra that you said, it's not so much about what you are teaching, is does learning has occurred or not. Now, that's very important aspect. And you mentioned the important part, which I was about to ask, will this affect the student fees or not? I think you mentioned that as well just now. We just simply video or add on, you do live. I mean, there's not much, you can't justify that, and that will affect create imbalance between what people perceive the value is. And this is where the advanced learning that you mentioned, coming up with the high tech or a new tech way of learning, would probably justify or rather accelerate, because every day for students, I remember at one time there's one quote from edX, or one of them founders, saying that at the end of the day, your education should provide justification for economics. In other words, they learn so they can make their own economy. I mean, they don't learn just to learn. I mean, of course, you have passion for knowledge. Now, I want to ask one final question. I know it's past 4 minutes to 12. Just one last question, right? In terms of moving forward from now 6 months to 12 months, what the thing that we can foresee in the probably in your respective institution 6 months to 12 months from now? Maybe Prof. Karim from USM, and then each of you just share a little bit. 6 to 12 months from now, what can we see?
Well,
this is not a public pledge. This is not a public pledge. Don't worry about that. Just an idea. Right.
Well, I like to answer that question. I like to echo Datuk Asma's statement again, which is a very good statement, which is about tomorrow is about not about enrollment, but about subscription. That's exactly true, and that's what USN is going or heading to. And talking about subscription kind of model, that what happened, when Apple started the iTunes. Instead of buying the whole album, only 1 or 2 songs that is nice, but you have to buy the whole album with 12 songs. But now with the iTunes model, you have to just buy whatever song that you like. So just pay per use, pay for songs that you want. So this is what we are heading to. Going forward, in USM now, we are going to have two kind of system that is or two kind of what we call program
Pathways.
running concurrently. One is a traditional, conventional face-to-face. Okay, we'll carry on with that. But we also would have another version of the accredited program in the form of micro-credential, which basically, when we modularize the curriculum, it's just a matter of bundling the modules into separate packages, and now we can put up as on the platform as the certificate program, advanced certificate program, and so on and so forth. And that's where the subscription model will come in, and that's where the real cash cow and the real income generation can comes in. And at the same time, still doing MOOC to support the SDG 4. All these things need to be also run concurrently. So, final remark here, we would have our conventional program carry on. We would have our micro-credential program running concurrently, side by side. And we're going to do MOOC, Massive Open Online Course, which will remain free, and that would support the agenda of SDG 4, providing quality education for all.
Right.
So, moving forward, as far as
Nice. Okay, Kiwan, what about in Unimas for you personally? 6 to 12 months from now, what can we see?
I think within six months, maybe still I think interesting period for us. We have quite a challenge to actually meet the needs of the students, because the way I see this is like we can't really assume that all universities are with the same playing field. The playing field is a bit different and to a certain extent, but I would also like to highlight the fact that at this moment the concept of mitigation is still there, but hopefully within the next few years, maybe within 1 or 2 years, like what Datuk Asma has mentioned, we have to move faster. So that is instead of just doing mitigation, we are trying to go along that online learning mode and all that. But the problem is like this, because a lot of institutions in Malaysia, especially public universities, we are established with the core values, or our vision and mission is to create that kind of educational experience that upholding access, equity. We talk about how to have all this community engagement, a lot of things. This is, I think, the values that a lot of people do not realize that Malaysian universities have this a lot. We focus a lot on community engagement. We focus a lot on about equity, access to quality education for very minimal cost actually. But once this model is disrupted, where you don't get the student directly from UPU, because we're lucky, we don't have to chase the student comes to us, right? But once the model is disrupted, we are actually competing among each other to get students in, unless of course the model still remain where students still have to go to UPU and they are streamlined to different public universities. At this moment, we kind of do not have to worry about that, because students just sign up and then they're just being distributed across 20 public university. But once this model is disrupted, I can see a lot of resistance in a way. How do we cope with competition, not only within Malaysia, within the region? How do you fight with China, for example? They are moving so fast with 5Gs and all this, and they're opening up their education by getting more expertise from different countries and lowering down their fees. So these are the issues that I think is not that easy to be solved within 6 to 12 months. But this is a good training. I see this like a litmus test where everyone is testing each other, and then let's see how it goes. And slowly, this is the real thing, in a way. Before this, we're just talking on paper. We're gonna do MOOC. We're gonna do blended learning. This is the real test, and if we can survive this test, we can really move forward. And I think it's high time for Malaysia to really lead in this area and probably be a benchmark for all the institutions within this region, like what Datuk Asma meant. We should move faster, but then how fast really depends on the support that we get, and also the support that we're willing to give to each other. Right? That's my take.
Thank you, Kiman. Dr. Wan from JPT, your thoughts?
The point is, we are all in this together. In the face of this reality of the current unprecedented crisis, we will need to continue to collaborate and work creatively And we cannot do this alone. Even in GPT or in the universities, we need to work collaboratively, interagencies, interministries, inter-universities, and we hope that with this we will be more creative, innovative. Together we will improvise, we adapt and overcome. And of course, definitely we need to work on. I think a lot of people keep saying about this ripple effect, and also just now we mentioned about enculturation. I think now we need a tsunami instead of just the ripple effect. We need the tsunami
Mm.
to make this change, and we need to embrace on online learning, and we need to also share that enthusiasm. I keep saying, it's very crucial that you show your enthusiasm for learning with your students. Especially when Kiman was saying, his students is being creative, innovative in helping each other, because they see they see you working, very hard, and working together to help your students to learn, and that enthusiasm is being shared with your students. So I also would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the universities, especially Prof Karim, and in sharing all the efforts taken to have to share not only best practices as simple as on how using WhatsApp, for learning.
Mm.
So in the ministry, we actually are working very hard also to help the universities, especially on the recently when we had presented the paper to the Majlis Keselamatan Negara on to bring back certain students, especially those uh, postgraduate students doing research, and also students who are going need to use labs, for example. So and now we are trying working uh, to present papers for to help our graduates. But not only those graduating this year, we are also need to look into how to prepare our students. Now they are in the universities to prepare themselves in the post COVID situation. Um, it's whether it is 6 months and or even a year. It is very important that we keep on to persevere and build that resilience for our students to be able to actually adapt and overcome together.
Right. Thank you, Prof. Datuk Asma for MQA, or personally your view, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. 12 months. I think there's a saying, before you decide what kind of education or what kind of university you want, you must first ask the question what kind of society you want. And you have seen what COVID has now taught us, civic heroism. You see a lot of the frontliners in terms of the health workers, they're all there. Not only they are there, but people who are bus drivers, panda driver, whatever, garbage collector, also working, not just among those in the healthcare, but you see others showing what solid social solidarity and showing shared responsibility. Basically, they are showing active citizenry, which is exactly what the blueprint is asking for. Shift one, the creation or nurturing of a balanced entrepreneurial, balanced graduate that is balanced between knowledge and character. So basically, we have been talking about online, but you have not addressed about the fact that many of the courses by professional bodies require skill-based, require the core values to be there, which is part and parcel of the uniqueness of Malaysian education, having core values. We are training learned, hopefully values-based talent to be active citizenry of the future. So if that is the case, blended has to be the way to go. But at the same time, quality online there as well. And that's why I was saying that rather Karim brought out two pathways. We have always been having two pathways. OUM and whatnot are non-traditional. Non-traditional don't care about graduation ceremony, protocols, etc. They already went their undergraduate, or they just go through experience and they just want to go and get a degree and move on with their life, right? So for all this, if we are now following the path, but then again you have all these fresh people who wants the campus life. You can't get rid of this campus life online. There is a beauty of belonging to a campus, right? That is what alumni, the spirit of alumni is all about. But at the end of the day, if we are now no longer having international students on campus, where is globalization? Where is the concept of global player? There are many things we have not discussed in this particular 1 hour that now makes a person ready for the 21st century. So perhaps the next thinking should be there, that the international students need not come, but we are now saying these are the consortium of courses that you can subscribe to, but the clinical, the technical, the social skill, please now go to the closest partner university that we have in your country or in your state or in your town. That way, can still be done. It's just a matter of logistics and arrangement, and that has already been done by Minerva University. So this is the concept that Harvard and MIT have put together, and Minerva University, where nobody owns a building. This is no longer about brick and mortar. This is now about experiential learning. But now the students have to travel. But now we are saying no more traveling. Now how do we now say students in Pakistan, we can still enroll in USM, but go to the closest partner in Pakistan to get your skill things that.
Right, that's.
Many things we need to discuss further. I think 1 hour is enough to cover the entirety of what experiential and learning is all about to make a change and drive the change. But let me tell you, technology alone will not be the driver, the sole driver to create change in higher education. You need a whole lot more to get change in higher education. But as long as we have new mindset, skill, the new kind of thinking and knowing that change is here to stay, then I think there's a lot of room for us to go.
Right. Thank you so much for Dato Asma. That's, I like the fresh thinking and the next thinking. Probably we can do another one just on that. I think I like the idea of it's like now in banking. I think if you look at parallel of the innovation, banking, for example, the last few years is going into the direction. But now, and of course now, like many of us have been thankful to COVID because of the acceleration that it has brought. But again, COVID also has its own issues that affecting some of us. I like also the thing that you mentioned, that Prof about civic heroism, the frontliners, how we self-organize ourselves. Even in all the MCO, the self-organization just fantastic. And hopefully someday our students, our learners will be as self-organized, as self-directed themselves, in order for them to develop their own competencies and learning, so that we can say finally learning has occurred, because what we see them in the graduation. So with that, we have passed over 18 minutes from 12. I think we'll just wrap up the session. Thank you so much from everyone. Prof. Dato Asma Ismail, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Prof. Karim from USM, Dr. Wan from JPT, and Mr. Kiman from Unimas. All right. So with that, I'd like to end the session. Have this session is higher education still relevant? Yes, still relevant. Definitely still relevant. And like what Dato Asma is saying, it's not so much about technology, it's about bigger stuff. It's more things in the what we call stakeholder in this, to make sure that, because the learning is unstoppable. It's continuous, right? And let's hope we get to see more stuff coming from higher ed, particularly the public universities. I definitely believe that public university always as the central in society development. Ask what society we want. I think that's a very interesting question from Dato Asma. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to leave you again. Say bye-bye to everybody. Thanks for watching. Selamat Hari Raya.
Selamat Raya.
Selamat Raya to everybody. Maaf saya batin. Alright, see you again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Take care. Bye-bye Kiman, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Alright, thank you so much everybody. That is from Prof. Asma Prof. Karim, Dr. Zuhainis, Mr. Kiman from all their respective institution, and that's very interesting because they gave their views on all the what should be done in the higher education, and I'm totally blown out. I don't know about all of you, but I'm totally amazed by the new thinking coming over there. So it's not just about the online learning, it's not about the digital learning, it's not about the hardware, it's about the new thinking in approaching higher education. Yeah, so there'll be a few nuggets good there over there. Is about maybe collaborating with other universities, about international students, putting this in advanced learning, make the students as a center of the education once again in the digital learning part. And I look forward, let's look forward for the more good stuff coming in the next few months, 6 to 12 months. Some of them I think it's just a matter of unlocking the advantage of the policy that we already have. I think you have learned from this conversation about, we have the micro credential, the MOOC, the self-directed learning, the traditional learning, and you could see now how all this now come together and shaping what the learning should be. Because at the end of the day, employment, education is about getting your own economic means. Yeah, you have a better education, you have a higher chance to have economic means. Yeah, and remember to follow our ice chat tomorrow. We have something special on economics from Mr. Shan on economics. Mr. Shan is the chief economist from Juai IQ. We have a special guest tomorrow from Juai IQ, Mr. Shan, and this is the session: pandemic economy versus previous economy. Where are we heading? Where are we heading? Because the pandemic economy is just so different than the previous economy. We hope certain things will come back. At the same time, we want certain things in the pandemic economy to stay. So where are we heading? So financial, property, investment, society. So watch out tomorrow with Mr. Shan Said at 10:30 a.m. This time we did a little bit earlier at 10:30 a.m. Shan Said on the economy. So with that, thank you so much. Thanks for following us chat. Innovation, change, and entrepreneurship, helping people get back on their feet is good economics. Remember, helping people get back on their feet is good economics. Thank you so much. My name is Khairul. Have a safe day. Selamat Hari Raya. Oh, we have another one tomorrow. Selamat Hari Raya. I will tell you tomorrow. Don't worry about that. For those who are traveling, be safe. Stay home if you will. Take care. Bye-bye.